Hey everyone, Mike McConville here, Stratford, Ontario, Canada. Just finishing up Bob's bass here. This is a JP-90, and it's actually an American Fender. Boy, this is new to me. I haven't seen one of these. I finished that partial refret. First 7 frets were changed. Once you've kind of reached your destination, the sound of that file kind of changes from a grind to a whisper. And we are there. This side is done. I keep my hand here so that there's zero chance of scoring the headstock. You can see that it's worth going to the trouble to reduce the overhang to almost zero. Those 7 new frets are in. Now they'll need to be leveled down to the level of that 8th fret, and then we'll just kind of scoot right across the full length and get this thing dead level from the 1st fret to the last. I did loosen off this truss rod to get that lay of the neck dead straight before I go anywhere near it with the file. So we verified that. Now I'm going to basically skim down those new frets that I put in, bring them down to the level of the original 8th fret until I see the faintest ghost mark on that 8th fret. I'll pull out my verniers in a second there and take some measurements. Again, like I've mentioned so many times before, I'm kind of cross-hatching, moving obliquely across the frets, right? But the file itself is staying along the trajectory of the string path. I know I keep saying that, but you need to understand that clearly. You don't want any confusion on that issue. First of all, let's look at our 8th fret, and that is 46. 45, let's see what it is here, 49. Over here, 46. Okay, so we're pretty close on that bass side. 45. Okay, we're just about there then on the bass side. 48. 46. Good. Okay, so I'm going to concentrate now on the treble side. So I'm going to stay away from that bass side because we're just about there. We're going to check it with a straight edge in a second. I'm going to concentrate mostly on the treble side here up to the 8th fret. So I don't go on a straight line because then you're going to create a swath the width of the file. You want to work across the radius, but still moving in the orientation of the string path. I can see now that that file is just barely grazing the 8th fret, and that's exactly what we want it to do. Here's our 7th fret, 44. 46, 46. We go up to our, say, 9th fret, 45, 45, 5. Now, you know something, there's a margin of error here. If I do this, that's going to alter like a couple of thou, no problem. But I can get a quick enough read on this to know that now I can actually check this thoroughly with various lengths of straight edges and see just how close we are. Well, as you can see, there's our 8th fret, and there's our last new fret. You can see that those are pretty squared off. All of these frets need some major recrowning to bring them back to center. This is our 7th fret, so this is the last new fret that we put in. So We do not want to touch the center of the crown. All we're doing is just getting rid of that square profile and coaxing the crown towards the center. As you've seen in other videos that I've posted, we have a different way of finishing this off. That's my 7th fret. Okay, here's our original 8th fret, and you can see there's sort of marks that just graze that crown. That's okay. There's the 7th fret, the new one that I just recrowned. Here's the 6th fret that I haven't touched yet. You can see how square that is. And the 5th fret, same thing. Now we've gone right across this with all the various straight edges. We know that along the trajectory of the string path, these frets are dead level. So all we're doing with the crowning file is coaxing the fret closer to center. We're going to finish it up with successively lighter grits of abrasive. So keep in mind when you're using this crowning file to have equistrokes on either side of the fret. The neck is completely controlled. The flex of the neck, the body is held, the neck is held. I can just concentrate on my work. It's all done by hand. I've been doing it like this for half a century. Started back in the 60s. You should see the action on this thing. This just plays like butter. Look at how close that is. Bob's got a very sort of precise touch, right? So he can play it like this. Unbelievable. Very rarely do I see a bass actually set up that closely without extraneous rattling and buzzing. Anyway, this thing's perfect now. I've just got my burn-in knife there. I'm going to heat up some low-heat lacquer stick, and I'll fill in just those little spaces underneath the new frets. And then we'll give it a quick touch-up with French polish. These are now filled on the bass side. I've got this masked off so that only the rosewood is exposed. Fret ends have been filled, and now we're just going to put a little titch, that's a scientific term, of an infinitesimal amount of French polish on there. It's a beautiful thing. Covering our tracks here. Nobody will know we were even here. Those frets matched up flawlessly with the original frets in height and width. Okay, we've touched that up with French polish. Now we'll just peel back our masking tape. Voila. This side is done. Okay, same deal on this side. I'll mask it off. So I'm going to give you a little closer look on this one this time. So we're going to mask those off before we get started. So we've confined the work area just for the edge of the new frets that we've put in. It doesn't need a lot of filler actually, but just one of those extra little touches, you know, to kind of make the job nice. I'll start with the 7th here. So I generally put just a little blob on each one and let it kind of run underneath the fret. I got these in pretty tight, like, you know, I almost don't even have to bother doing this. So I'm kind of doing it for your sake, just to show you. We got these frets in super tight to the bottom of the kerf, so they hardly even need a touch-up, but like I said, we'll do it anyway just to kind of show you how I typically do this. So I start by just sort of putting that little kind of blob on there, and then we'll just kind of run over that and let it run into the slot underneath the fret to fill it in solid. This is extra dark walnut low heat burn-in stick that I've got. I get this from Lee Valley here in Canada. I think you actually have Lee Valley in the States too, so I guess you guys could order that from them too. 4-0 steel wool, we just kind of steel wool it flush. I have the neck actually suspended because I just French polished the other side, so I don't really want to touch that if I can avoid it. We'll let the French polish sets pretty quick, but still I'd rather not touch it while I'm doing this side. This is actually a final touch on this bass. Everything else has been done. What I have here is just a tongue depressor with some two-sided tape and kind of a soft foam. So I've got some very fine grit sandpaper here, and I'm just going to kind of polish the end of each fret all the way along. That'll be my kind of final move before we put the French polish on. So we've got those filled with the lacquer stick, and now we're just doing this. So the foam kind of flexes and distorts over to the end of the crown and allows you to sort of polish that right up, so there's no snags or jags. Smooth as silk, right? Up to the 7th fret. That was our last new one here. So I just kind of work that a little bit more. Good, I'm happy with that. Ready for French polish. Okay, so we got a little titch of French polish there, and blend that all in. No one will ever know. Okay. That's the idea. Cover your tracks. At a glance, they just figure it's factory frets. Voila. Well, Bob Kalmusky has a gig coming up on Monday, so this thing will be ready for him. The Kalmusky family has a long musical history in this area. Of course, Kenny Kalmusky, Bob's brother, played with Sylvia Tyson, Great Speckled Bird, among many other things, Ronnie Hawkins, and was a jobbing bass player forever. Kenny's son David, of course, is another good friend and customer that runs a studio in Nashville called Addiction Sound that does, boy, I could talk for an hour about Addiction Sound. You can look him up online. David Kalmusky, a hell of a player, and obviously world-class producer. Produced the last Journey album, among many, 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 many other things. So, Bob, we got it ready for you. You're back in action. Cheers.